that our hearts go out to you and our Henrico families at this time, and we hope your family remains healthy and safe. Today, we are very excited to explore some positive behavioral interventions and supports, or PBIS for short, and how some of these practices that are often in place in our schools can also be used at home pretty easily. So when we began our safe at home adventure, so to speak, many of us may have somewhat related to the picture that you see on the screen right now. Perhaps in our minds, our expectations for family life that included parenting, working, and teaching our children at home might have looked something like this in our heads. When in reality, sometimes it looks and feels like this, right? You might be able to relate better to this at this point. It is tough being the parent, an employee, a teacher, a chef, a housekeeper, an athletic trainer, and most of all, keeper of the peace. This quote truly justifies why we're all feeling this way sometimes. Working, parenting, and teaching are three different jobs that cannot be done at the same time. It's not hard because you're doing it wrong. It's hard because it really is just too much sometimes. So do the best you can. And when you have to pick, because at some point you definitely will have to pick, always choose connection. So as Alexis said, my name is Donna Crocker, and I serve currently in the role of PBIS Coordinator for Henrico County Public Schools. So my job, which is fantastic, I get to support schools in implementing proactive and positive supports that promote a healthy climate where all students can be academically, behaviorally, and socially successful. That's our goal. So I've done this work throughout my career and utilized the strategies we're going to talk about today with my own 3 children. They are mostly grown now, but I can honestly say trying these strategies and using them with my 3 children is very different than what we're talking about today. I've not had to do this within a pandemic situation. So while none of our family environments are perfect, after all, we are all human, I myself found in especially challenging times at home that the more structure and support for each other that we can provide increases and promotes better family dynamics and really strengthens our relationships with one another. So today we're going to define PBIS at school and at home, and we're just going to explore 4 simple strategies to create and maintain a safe, structured, and predictable home environment. Before moving on, I just wanted to refer you to the bottom right-hand part of your screen. There's a link there to this presentation for you. And there is also a link, once you're in the presentation, to a resource packet. The resource packet has some examples and reproducible forms that you might find are useful.
We can't click on it.
You'll have to copy the link down, and then you can hop to the link a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so what is PBIS? Well, PBIS at school is focused on improving school safety and promoting positive behavior. So our staff work on teaching expected behaviors, just in the same way that they would teach, say, reading or math or social studies. When students demonstrate expected behavior, they're acknowledged for doing so, because the goal is really to prevent problem behavior before it occurs and then respond to problem behavior by reteaching and shaping expected behavior rather than a focus on punishment. These same principles can really be easily applied at home. We all benefit as a family when we create a safe, structured environment that includes consistent routines and focuses on teaching the positive behaviors we expect. This really helps us build life skills with our kids. Today, we'll explore some PBIS strategies that we can use right at home. We'll focus on these 4 proactive strategies that reduce stress at home and empower our kids to demonstrate responsible behavior. So we'll discuss the benefits of and how to create a home schedule that will work for your family. We'll identify home expectations and routines that will help to support an environment where all are working, playing, and learning together, full time. Learn how to set some simple goals and establish rewards for completing work and for completing those family responsibilities. We'll identify strategies for supporting expected behavior and for how to respond to unexpected behavior. There's a little disclaimer sign at the bottom of the screen, mostly because I want you to understand a fair amount of information is going to be shared today, but remember to show yourself some compassion. Think about trying maybe one thing that you hear new today and doing it consistently to see what the impact is. You can incorporate the rest of these by phasing them in over time. The first strategy focuses on creating and following a home schedule that works for your family. Why is a home schedule helpful? Do we really need to have structure at home? Every child's needs are different. Some kids require increased structure to feel safe, to maintain behavior, and to carry out their daily responsibilities at home, while others may need less. Most especially when there's multiple children at home, a daily schedule can benefit all, especially during this time when we are working, learning, and playing together full-time at home. The more consistent the routines and schedule can be, the easier it will be to support behavior and to prevent that challenging behavior we sometimes see at home. So developing a home schedule creates a sense of safety and serves as a framework for your daily activities. Consistently following a daily schedule promotes predictability. When kids know a break or a reward or simply some choice time to engage in a favorite activity is on the horizon, it may be really motivating for them and help assist them to complete the work they need to do or the chores they need to do. Finishing their schedule each day also promotes a sense of accomplishment. We all like to be part of shaping what we will do each day, and kids are no different. When they have a voice in creating the schedule that goes on each day, they're more inclined to follow it. So consider a family meetup. Think about taking maybe 15 minutes or so, and you can even set a timer if you like, to list the things family members need to do. For example, as kids in the daily schedule, we might need to have some time to read for 20 minutes. We have structured distance learning time or remote learning time built into our schedule. As parents, we may have to work about 8 hours at home at the same time, and everyone needs to contribute to chores and to keeping the family running smoothly. Those are some of the things we need to do. But don't forget to include the things you want to do. When kids see time is built in for things that they like to do, they're more motivated to complete the things that they need to do. So sitting down together and coming up with what are the things that we like to do separately and together. For example, TV and video games, spending time together. I know my kids always loved to cook and bake together, exercise together, or just spend some outside time. One thing I included also on this slide is a tip. When you're structuring what you need to do and what you want to do, spend some time thinking about that distance or remote learning that needs to take place, as well as your own work schedule and what you need to do. If you can identify where kids and parents are going to do this work and they have their own consistent work and learning spaces, it will help organize everyone for success. So here's one example of a daily schedule that encompasses a full day, which supports everyone while we're in our safe at home mode. You'll notice it's divided into chunks and represents ample opportunities for structured learning. There's 2 times per day, as well as mealtime, playtime, reading, exercise, chores, and free time. Breaking these things up throughout the day is a great way to keep kids motivated. You can also add end times, or you can use a timer as well to keep things on track. Helping our kids, depending on how old they are, to set timers for themselves will really help them build some self-monitoring skills as well. The important thing is that this daily schedule must work for your family. A schedule frame is included in the resource packet. Be sure to include the need to do and the want to do activities in your family's daily schedule. Coming up with your daily schedule in your family meeting will also help everyone to identify what those meaningful times are that you will need to work together and separately. Our next section, strategy 2, is a set of expectations for home and for routines. This is a great way to help kids develop positive behaviors and life skills. Creating and following daily routines allow children to meet expectations. Many of our schools have PBIS school-wide expectations. If your school has these and you know them, you can use the same ones for your family expectations. This is very helpful. It provides consistency and continuity between home and school. If this is not possible, then you can talk with your kids about the kind of environment they would like to have around the house and at home during this extended remote learning. For example, they might say, I want to feel safe. That could be physically safe or emotionally safe, a place where we respect and support each other, where everyone does their part. That could translate to a set of expectations for home, like those identified at the bottom of the slide. Be safe, be responsible, be respectful. During your family meeting, when setting the daily schedule, consider collaborating as a family to come up with these together. If it's important to all family members and everyone has a voice in contributing, then it's like a social contract that everyone agrees to follow. So, what could family expectations look like or sound like? Kids can help you define this. Here's an example. We start by identifying what these mean at home in all settings. For example, be safe. Know where your body is in space. What that means is that you're aware of where you are and how close you are to others. Look out for each other. This develops empathy, the ability to see things from another person's perspective, and an ability to practice showing compassion. These are great social emotional skills that are useful both at home and at school. Being responsible means putting things back where they belong. This teaches our kids self-monitoring skills and organizational skills. Be respectful. In all settings around the house, you should check in with each other when someone is hurt or upset. Based on your identified home expectations, you can identify common routines that occur daily, such as meal times, wake up and bedtimes, and even distance or remote learning. Chances are you already have some routines in place, but may not realize it. Routines promote predictability and helps kids develop a sense of feeling safe. When kids know what's expected of them, then there's no guessing. You may or may not already be experiencing this at home. In addition to being out of regular school routines, kids pick up on our stress and they absorb what we often think is background noise. Take great care in minimizing over-access to newscasts. If kids have concerns about the health crisis, answer them with brief, accurate, but age-appropriate responses. Reducing stress and anxiety can be achieved when we have more predictable routines in place. This is especially important in these days of uncertainty, but are certainly helpful for families in general. So the next two slides are examples of activities that we can create routines for. It was adapted from the Center on PBIS, and it outlines the support that follows our safe at home guidelines. For example, on this slide, you see morning activities with possible routines. So you've likely gotten some of these routines you might recognize already in place. For example, when you get ready to learn, you might have a routine for what wake up and getting ready for the day looks like and what breakfast looks like. Starting the day with a morning check-in or a meetup. You're reviewing the schedule and the expectations and checking in with them each day. Each morning brings a new set of emotions sometimes, right? So morning movement. Is there something you can do in the morning that will just get blood going to the brain and prepare folks for the day? Structured and distance learning, establishing times for core academic activities, and a lunchtime check-in. These are all examples, and there's some elementary here and there's some secondary as well. And our second follow-up slide is a continuation. It really focuses on those afternoon activities for routines. It's amazing to think when you look at both of these slides, the amount of activities that happen within a day within your home, especially while you are in full-time safe at home mode. So if you consider and think about which areas of the day are going well, you might not need a specific explicit routine for those. But if you have certain areas of your day where you feel like it's a little more difficult and more structure might be beneficial, then you might consider developing a routine for that. Especially, I think wake up or bedtime always tended to be an area of challenge for me as a parent as well. So on this next slide, you will see an identified set of routines that are aligned with school-wide and home expectations. So in this instance on the top, the school has a set of expectations. Be respectful, be responsible, be safe. And this is what routines look like that support students in being successful in meeting expectations in the classroom, the cafeteria, and at dismissal time. We can think about creating the same things at home. Being respectful, responsible, and safe when it's time for virtual learning, when it's time for mealtime, or when it's time for bedtime. For example, for the virtual classroom time, being respectful might be keeping the background noise to a minimum when you're engaged in a lesson. Being responsible might be do your best work, turn in your homework when it's due. Be safe might look like keep open drinks away from the computer. Those are a couple of examples. This example shows more routines, just to give you an idea. Remember, a good rule of thumb is to start small. It looks like a lot of routines on this slide, I know, but maybe create 2 or maybe 3, depending on the age of your kids, and teach, practice, remind, and reinforce the kids for following those. Then you can gradually add more. Again, with your children, agree on the behaviors that you would like to include in each routine. This increases the likelihood they understand what's expected and may have more buy-in to show these behaviors. For young kids, you can even add pictures. So if there's a specific place where you hold your meals, maybe creating a routine that just is for mealtime. That is a visual reminder of what those behaviors are that demonstrate being, in this case, safe, responsible, and respectful in the kitchen at mealtime. So our third strategy involves simple goal setting and celebrating with our kids when they meet goals. So here are some steps to write a simple goal. Once you've set your daily schedule and your kids have clear expectations and routines, you're set to create a goal together, such as when I complete my morning tasks, I'll earn 10 minutes of screen time for game playing. If your child is working on persevering and completing tasks, you can set criteria. If I complete 4 out of 5 of my morning tasks, I can earn blank. Ensure that your daily schedule includes a time for check-ins so that you can provide encouragement and feedback to your child. It's great to reflect at the end of the day asking, what are you proud of today? Or what do you want to work on for tomorrow? Or what is one way that you showed you were safe today? One way you demonstrated responsibility, or one way you were respectful to a sibling. So here's an example of how to monitor daily success. Super simple. Kids can monitor their own schedule with a task checkoff sheet. So self-monitoring their own progress throughout the day is a great school skill, but also a life skill. A blank example of this is available in your resource packet so that you can make it your own. I think of myself even as an adult. I have a list of tasks of daily to-dos, and I cross them off as I complete them or check off. It gives me a great sense of accomplishment. I've even been known to add things to my list that popped up that I did just to check them off. So I think helping our kids build that skill of monitoring their progress through the day is a phenomenal way to build a life skill that they'll use forever. This is another way to monitor daily success. So instead of having the whole checklist sheet all for the entire day and across the week, this is a great example that includes a goal statement, and it's broken down by morning, afternoon, and evening. Kids that thrived with increased structure or breaks may feel a greater sense of accomplishment when they look at the day in segments. You'll see that there is a morning reward, an afternoon reward, and an evening reward associated with the completion of tasks here. When we talk about rewards, they can be really simple. Rewards are acknowledgement for a job well done. They're not bribery, right? Always look for low cost, or better yet, no cost alternatives. Examples are listed on this slide here. With everyone at home, special one-on-one time is often a desirable reward because it's really, really difficult, especially when you have multiple kids at home, to give that one-on-one time. Pictured here is a great example of a choice board. If you build it together with your kids, then you know whatever they choose is already parent approved because you worked on building it together. And you know they are rewards that kids that kids find meaningful, that they would appreciate working to earn, right? It reduces also this idea that when it comes time for the reward, we have to negotiate what that reward will be. When you have this pre-approved choice board, then it minimizes any power struggles or negotiating that needs to go on. Okay, so the best way to reduce problem behavior and get what you expect is to clearly teach, practice, and acknowledge kids when they're showing you the expected behavior. And you might ask, well, why should I acknowledge my child for doing something they are already expected to do? Well, we can think about it this way. The more attention that kids receive for doing what's expected, the greater the likelihood that they'll continue to show you that positive expected behavior. If we get caught in the trap of paying attention mostly to negative, unexpected behaviors, then sometimes we tend to see more of the same of those negative behaviors. When you take time to notice kids showing expected behavior, provide them feedback and reinforcement for doing the right thing, even when no one is looking. That was my mother's famous advice. Do the right thing, even when no one is looking. They then start to make that connection between their behavior and what's expected of them, and the positive praise that you give them acknowledges their efforts. Praise statements on this slide show how you can be specific about behavior and how it supports or could support your family expectations. Things like, you made your bed and straightened your room. Thanks for being responsible. You respectfully accepted you had to finish your chores before you hopped online. Thank you. Doing the dishes after dinner was both responsible and kind. Now we have time to watch a movie. The research shows that 5 positive interactions are needed to offset 1 negative interaction. Positive interactions can be based on positive behavior we observe, like I shared on the previous slide, but can also be simple statements that build up our kids, lets them know they're valued and noticed. Positive interaction examples could include things like this. Your smile is beautiful. It looks like you're feeling really happy this morning. Congrats, you got dressed in record time this morning. Thanks for setting the table. I didn't even ask. That's so responsible. You are rocking those kicks. I am looking forward to checking in with you later to hear how things are going. Thanks for cleaning up your toys. That keeps our family room safe and organized. We all understand that gentle verbal reprimands and corrective consequences are necessary at times, but it's important to realize that for each of these, our kids need 5 more positives in order to maintain a healthy relationship and a high self-esteem. Relationships are strengthened when we choose to focus on the positive. Our 4th and final strategy is responding to behavior. We just finished discussing positive ways we can encourage and reinforce our kids for meeting behavior expectations. The big idea here is the more that we pay attention to what we want to see, the less we will have to respond to challenging behavior. There are 4 things to practice when you respond to unexpected or undesirable behavior. Here's a typical scenario. Think about this. You're trying to clear the table to get ready for dinner, and that is the designated workspace that your child's now using for their remote learning. When your daughter hops offline, she's halfway out the door, right? She's headed for free time. She wants to play catch outside, right? So the following interaction might take place. The first thing you should do is quickly signal the error. That was not responsible. This example shows how to connect your correction to your family expectations. 2, restate the expected behavior. Remember, we clean up after ourselves when we're finished working. 3rd, give them a chance for a positive follow-up. Can you please try and clean up your workspace before dinner? What would that look like? Sometimes our kids aren't really sure what we mean when we say clean up your workspace. So explicitly teaching what that looks like when you're setting those routines is really helpful. And lastly, when your child demonstrates the expected behavior, provide positive, specific feedback. In this instance, you might say, cleaning your workspace showed responsibility. Thank you. This interrupted the behavior, but also provided a practice opportunity and an opportunity for your child to be acknowledged when she followed through with your request. This increases the chance that she'll remember to do this next time. Giving her time to do it prior to dinner decreases the chance of a potential power struggle while still holding her accountable for cleaning up the workspace. Redirection is a prompt and should provide a reminder of what's expected. Examples are listed here. When your child goes to grab an apple out of the bowl without washing hands, you might simply say, remember to wash your hands before eating. Frequent hand washing is actually one of the most important things, and it's right now for certain. When transitioning from one activity to another, such as screen time to cleaning your room, you might model respectful language with this reminder. Remember, screen time is over and it's time to clean your room. The time and effort you put into developing and putting your schedule and routines into practice will support these reminders. When kids are included in making these agreements, they're more likely to respond favorably. Remember, corrections and redirections should be brief, calm, and provide a practice opportunity so that you have a chance to acknowledge them when they effectively demonstrate the expected behavior. Here's some tips for decreasing undesired behavior. This is critical not just for our kids, but really is relevant to us as adults as well. So building in some time for virtual social connections with family and friends, modeling this for your children is especially important right now. It's our only means of connecting with one another. Model taking care of yourself physically and emotionally. Limit the access to news and make it age appropriate. And for ourselves, maybe just taking that moment to practice some deep breathing, do some body scans, some body checks, stretches, engage in exercise, and stick to bedtime routines. That's really important for restorative sleep. Providing choice when possible is probably one of my number one tips. We all like to exercise freedom and independence to select what we want to do, and there are some examples of this listed on the slide. The bottom line is behavior can make us crazy. It's really, though, just a form of communication about an unmet need. So I think about it from my own personal experience. So how many times I have been hungry or my kids have been hungry and we haven't been at our best and we're kind of going at it back and forth a little bit. It's because that basic need of hunger had not been met, and therefore it made interacting with each other more difficult. Most all of us, and I want you to think about this too, most all of us have an annoying behavior that bothers someone else. And I think about if we asked my husband this question, he would probably be able to list a few of my annoying behaviors. When it comes to our kids, remember, behaviors are just a form of communication. So it means a need has not been met. So for example, constant fidgeting or noise making comes to mind when we think of kids, right? Identify the annoying behavior and support your child in choosing a less annoying way to get that need met. So in this instance, if they're making sounds and tapping and noises and people are concentrating and focusing on remote learning or working from home, maybe just give them a fidget, a stress ball, something else, which takes away that noise that is distracting, but gets that tactile need met for the child. A calm corner or peace corner can be a healthy, positive support for anyone in the family. It's a safe space for a family member to access when he or she is feeling a little bit out of sorts, such as feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, or a little agitated, or honestly, just when we feel we need a break. Those pictured here are designed for kids. It's viewed as a time in support, meaning as kids start to recognize their feelings and that they need to take a break, they have a designated space to do it. This promotes the ability to sort of self-monitor and self-regulate emotions. Problem behavior can just be the result from an inability to process our emotions. So time in a calm corner is a better alternative than time out, which is more of an excluding punishment and can sometimes escalate behavior. So just identify a space at home that can be accessed by all, or a corner of the child's bedroom if it's just for them. Ideally, it would serve no other purpose. It can be small. It should just have a place to sit. It could be a chair, a beanbag, or just a designated safe spot on the floor. And then gather some materials from around your house, such as coloring pages, colored pencils, stress balls, a headset or music. One of those water bottles with glitter in can be very soothing. And then just review when and how to use it safely. Even better, you could create a routine for using the calm corner. And in the beginning, you might need to prompt him or her to go just by saying something like, do you think it might be helpful to spend a few minutes in the peace corner? Go ahead and take a break for now. It's important to refrain from sending kids to the corner, or you risk them viewing it more as a punishment than as an opportunity to take a break. So when problem behavior occurs, the time to talk about it is definitely after the incident and when everyone is back to a state of calm. When we are in a heightened emotional state, it's really difficult to reason effectively. In fact, it's not possible. Questions like the ones on this slide are great questions for a chat with your child after things have cooled down. It could be written like this example of the worksheet on the right, or it can be verbal. Asking them what happened, what was your brain saying, how were you feeling, what would make it better. These questions frame a conversation that's more supportive and provides your child the opportunity to connect their feelings with their behaviors, as well as to take someone else's perspective, but at the same time developing accountability for their own behavior. This type of problem solving fosters social emotional growth and strengthens adult and child relationships. So it's time to recap. We went over 4 strategies today and a lot of information was shared. So it's important to share some words of caution. We are all building this plane while we're flying it in this time of being everything to everyone in achieving a more harmonious, supported home environment. It might be developing family expectations. That might be something you choose to try first. Maybe just a daily schedule and a routine or 2. Increasing your positive interactions, or creating a calm or peace corner. The important thing is not to take it on all at once. Start something new. Practice it, and then you can build on it over time. Even after this current health crisis eases, these supports will definitely stand you in good stead. So I want you all to think about this. On the craziest of days, when you feel you are barely out there treading water, remember that everyone's ability to stay healthy while strengthening family relationships is priority one. We're grateful for the love and the support that you show your family every day, and the efforts you're making to keep your kids connected and engaged with their school families. With all the hats you wear, you definitely are a superhero. Today's presentation, I would like to give credit to these two sources, which provided the content and align with all of the PBIS practices we're doing in our schools. And I hope it was certainly very helpful to you as parents to use some of the things we do at school at home to provide a more harmonious gathering of your family. So thank you so much for your time today. We are definitely going to be closing out. Alexis will be. And I'll be happy to stay online after the recording for a few minutes for some Q&A.
Absolutely. Donna and you all, this is Adrienne Cole Johnson, Director of Family and Community Engagement. Donna, thank you so much for giving so much information in a short amount of time. I have tons of notes that I know I'm going to be using at home with my 7-year-old daughter. If I can drop a few things, I love the shared language that you talked about, family expectations, acknowledgement and rewards, and then connecting that back to expectations as well. So again, thank you to your team and all of the work that you all do. And we have a visitor. Thank you all for your team and all, right? For your work, all that you've done in our schools and continuing to support our families in this way. Also, a big thank you to Alexis, who opened us up, and she's going to also manage the Q&A. She's our parent resource facilitator and has done a great job with getting us started with some of these virtual workshops. I'll ask you all if you have other ideas or things that you think would be helpful for you as you are really working and learning and doing so many different things from home. I ask that you email Alexis, because we'll be, as Donna said earlier, building this plane as we go, really adding to some more workshops that will bring value to your home. I think the only last thing before we go to Q&A, we're working from home, we're learning from home. Madi, I'm so glad to see you on this call. We are doing so many things from home, but we're doing it during a pandemic. So just giving yourself some time and some grace to figure it out is something that I'm really holding close. So thank you all for being here. And Alexis, I'll turn it back to you for the Q&A.